Do you feel like you've lost your way? Are you overwhelmed and anxious on a daily basis? Do you feel like you're too stressed out to enjoy life? If so, you've landed in the right place. The Gratitude to Bliss show is about stressing less and feeling blessed. It's about figuring out what matters most, letting go of what doesn't, and creating a life that makes you feel happy and alive. I'm Lorraine Miller, mom, health coach, award-winning author, infertility survivor, and recovering stressaholic. And I'm on a mission to help you overcome overwhelm, improve your health, and find your bliss. The best part? It's so easy to get started. The Gratitude to Bliss show starts now. Hello and welcome to the Gratitude to Bliss show, the place to be to get your vitamin G. I'm Lorraine Miller, your host, and I have a really special guest today. I am so pleased to welcome Danny Cohen. Danny is the model of gratitude. Danny suffers from multiple chronic illnesses and helps others who are also suffering with chronic conditions thrive through gratitude, self-love, and radical self-acceptance. He's also the author of Keep On Keeping On, 31 Days, 31 Promises to Bring More Love, Passion, and Hope into Your Life. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here. So let's talk about the work that you do helping people suffering from chronic illness, and then tell us about your book as well.
Sure. Well, this has been a long journey for me, and I haven't always been on this gratitude journey. I began on this gratitude journey in 2013 when I had a series of brain surgeries. So those brain surgeries were supposed to help me with my seizures, but they didn't. They were successful, but unsuccessful, I say. They helped to lessen the severity of my seizures, but I still had seizures. After I'd gotten out of the hospital, I realized, or should I say while I was in the hospital, I started to realize that I was going to have this condition for the rest of my life. I didn't like who I was prior to the surgeries. And now that I was here in the moment, I was going to still have this epilepsy and still have these other chronic illnesses. It was now time to really love myself and be grateful for the life that I live and for the beautiful mess that it is. So as I moved forward with my recovery and getting out of the hospital, I wanted to help others. I wanted to help them see the beautiful mess that they are and that they're living. To be grateful for all the little things that are going on in their life and, not look at it as a curse, but as a blessing. We all have blessings, we all have curses, but if you could look at the little blessings within those curses, it makes life a lot easier to move forward in. And it took me a while to really realize that. But once I started to see how amazing it is to live with these little uncontrollable circumstances and just to have a life at all,
Mm-hmm.
I really started to notice that life is beautiful, life is messy, and you have to be grateful despite your circumstances. And if you can allow yourself to surrender to that, it all allows life to be a little bit easier. It allows you to breathe into the moments each day, wake up with a smile on your face, even when life is, and excuse the language, but even when life is a little shitty, you can just breathe a little deeper sometimes and know that you still are able to wake up and enjoy the day and know that you're going to be okay, even though you're not okay. And it's okay not to be okay. A lot of people think that, oh, I have to put on this face and be a strong person and show everybody that there's nothing wrong with me. And with epilepsy being in that it's invisible, a lot of people don't think there's anything wrong with us. The main thing is to show that you're going through something, but to also be grateful through it. And so those are these things that I've learned and that I teach now through my writing and through my speaking. I've done coaching in the past. I haven't done some coaching in the past couple of years just due to some hospital visits and such and some other medical things. But through my writing and through my speaking, I preach a lot of that. I talk a lot about embracing who you are, not being afraid about what you're going through. Talk about just, being sick, but not being ungrateful for the individual that you were made. I mean, you were put on this earth for a reason. Enjoy it.
Mm, that's beautiful. So powerful. So, let's talk a little bit about how you came to the idea of being grateful. You shared kind of a little bit about the experience that you went through with surgeries, but what gave you the idea? Like, is it something that just came to you intuitively because you really found no other way out of those feelings, or did somebody influence you? How did it all come together like that for you?
Well, this actually all began prior to my hospital stays in 2013. As I said, I was a very unhappy person. And, of course, a disclaimer with the whole trigger warning thing, I'm going to talk about suicide.
Okay.
I was a suicidal person prior to my surgeries in 2013. I've had bouts with suicidal ideations throughout the years. Even today, I still deal with that. It's a fact of life due to some seizure medications that I take.
Mm.
Um, but I'm much more receptive to how I deal with my bouts of those ideations. I'm much more open to speaking about them. I'm much
Mm.
more, able to handle those types of thoughts. But prior to that, uh, I was not in a great space.
Okay.
And then when I had my surgeries, as I said, I came to a point where it was either I accepted it or I didn't. And while I was lying in my hospital bed recovering, I had read the book, The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. Um, and Randy Pausch was a instructor at Carnegie Mellon. He wrote the book in 2008, and he had tumors in his belly. He had about 10 tumors in his belly. He died of that cancer, but he wrote his last lecture, and it was about not dealing with his sickness at the time, but being grateful for all his past experiences, his childhood, is the fact that he was going through his illness and being able to spend time with his family, his friends, and all the other things, doing what he loved. And so as I read this book while I was lying in the hospital bed, it made me think, why can't I be like this person?
Mm.
And really made me think about, you know, I would love to be a person who could be grateful about their life while living through chronic illness, living through a past that was, you know, full of just mess and only mess, not a beautiful mess. But when I read his book, I then wrote myself a promise on index cards. I still have those promises. And the first promise was to be grateful. And
Mm.
so I read that promise, and it was, I promised to be grateful. And then the second day I wrote, I promise to smile. Next day, I promised to trust. I promised to cherish family. And for 31 days, I wrote myself a list of promises. I was in the hospital for about 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for those 31 days, I wrote those promises down on those index cards. And like I said, I had no intention of publishing the book or making it into a book at all. It
Mm.
was just my own thing. And at the end of those 31 days, it made me feel a hell of a lot better because I started to then really see my life in a completely different perspective. Just
Mm.
to, notice how grateful I was and how I wanted to trust me being the person that I am now, living with this illness and not being able to change it. Um, to cherish my family more, because
Okay.
I promised myself I wouldn't do this.
It's okay. It's okay. You
But
are so authentic.
my
Just
family has gotten me through a lot. And, you know, I remember the time when I was going to, or should I say, the last time when I was going to uh, attempt to end my life, just the thoughts that were going through my head and thinking about my family and my nephew at the time.
mm,
I'm thinking of, he was a young child at the time, and, thinking of him and thinking of my parents and my brothers and all these other things. And, then being in the hospital and how grateful I am to have my mother and my father and, my brothers and, I'm just, and even my extended family just to help me out and get me through those things. So even that promise was tremendous for me.
mm,
So, that really helped get me through that tough time. Um, and then I got out of the hospital. I got out of the hospital. I went back in a couple of times throughout 2013 and 2014, but um, I then started to post things on Facebook here and there, and I started to, say these different things about being grateful for your uncontrollable circumstances, and just to enjoy life for what it is. Um, and I noticed how it was helping people.
mm,
So, you know, fast forward to 2017, a friend of mine told me to publish the promises. And so I elaborated on them. I included a journal in the book. And so I did that. And I noticed how it's helped so many people since then. So, yeah.
yeah, your work is just so beautiful and inspiring. And I think people see you as someone who definitely struggles with your health and your chronic issues. And they say, well, if he can get through this, then I can get through what I'm going through.
Right.
And it's it's so powerful, and it's such a beautiful story of how you've turned everything around through sharing your gifts and giving yourself that opportunity to help other people. It's incredible. I mean, I see your social media and I feel so inspired every time I see you post things. And I have your book, which is also amazing. And, just how you came up with the idea and the whole story behind it, being in the hospital and starting with index cards. I mean, that's like you really started with the most simple, basic tools, and yet it is so powerful. And I really love that. And I love that you came up with this idea of like making that promise to yourself and sticking with it and going day by day. And sometimes we think so many things in life can be so overwhelming. But when you break it down like that into the very simple, basic tool of a promise and one promise a day, it's doable. It's people can see themselves doing that. Um, have you found that other people have been inspired to write their own promises from your
I have,
book?
yes. A number of people have come to me and have said that they've been inspired to write their own promises, or just incorporate gratitude into their life, more acceptance, whatever it may be, but especially with the promises, and being able to put that into action has
Yeah.
been a great tool for them.
Yeah, that's
So
incredible. And so your book is on Amazon. So I encourage everyone to check out Danny's book, Keep on Keeping On 31 Days, 31 Promises to Bring More Love, Passion, and Hope into Your Life, and to write your own promises. It's a beautiful thing to do. And then to incorporate gratitude into that. When you were talking earlier, I was thinking about um, an experience when my dad was sick and he had cancer. And I was thinking about the book that you read when you were in the hospital. Because I remember this was before I knew about the power of gratitude and before I focused on gratitude. But I remember asking my dad if he was angry because he knew that he was dying and he was only 64 years old. And I said, are you angry that you have cancer? Like, I just wanted to know how he was feeling about it. And maybe he was hiding it from me, his daughter, but he said, no. He said, I'm just grateful for the life that I've had. And I'm grateful for you, your brother and your sister and your mom. And like, he really brought it home. Like, this is what matters most. And this is what I'm most grateful for. And I'm not angry. And I think when you can live your life that way, that knowing that every day is a blessing, it changes everything. And I think that's really kind of influenced my life in a way too, without even realizing it.
yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your father.
Thank you. Um, so let's see. So we're approaching the holidays.
Mhm.
And that can be a really rough time for people. We have less daylight. We have, you know, kind of more gloominess, I guess. And the holidays are just always challenging. There can be stressful. People can feel lonely. What advice can you give people about the holidays? What can they focus on so that they can get through this time and not feel the weight of this time of year?
Well, whether you're living with a chronic illness or not, know that you're not alone. That's the biggest thing. Even going through a chronic illness, it's very easy to feel like you're alone
Mm,
and isolated with being sick, and then you have to stay home and doing all those things by yourself. I live on my own. My family is out on Long Island, so you know being here by myself, it's very isolating, and I'm constantly in my head trying to just figure things out on my own. But then I know that I have other friends that I can reach out to, and I can have my family to reach out to. I know that they're there, you know, and then anyone who's going through mental health issues, it's the same thing. know that you're not alone, because there's always somebody else out there that's going through what you're going through. So don't be afraid to reach out
Mm,
and allow yourself that vulnerability to share your story, because your story might help somebody else.
mm,
It's very important to realize that you know you're good enough, and be grateful for what you have.
mm-hmm,
Accept, even though what a lot of people think is that acceptance is, this is my life and this is what it's going to be like forever, and maybe it will be, but acceptance doesn't, it's not, you know enjoying what you have. Acceptance is, acknowledging what you have, and then moving forward. You put it on a shelf, you acknowledge that it's there, and then move on with your life. That's acceptance. It's not enjoying what you have in your life right now, but it's acknowledging that it's there.
mm-hmm,
You acknowledge that it's there, and then be at peace with it. And then the more you become at peace with whatever you're going through, the easier it becomes for you to move it forward, and then go on to those things that you really want to do with your life and enjoy them.
mm. That's that's really, really helpful, I think, to remind people to reach out. You're not alone. Whatever your circumstances are, there's somebody out there that has something similar and that you can actually help them as well. That's really, really important for people to hear. I want to ask you, you talk about self-love, and I can see how, especially with a chronic illness that you're living with every single day, that it's kind of impossible to enjoy your life, like you say, if you don't love yourself. So how does somebody get started with self-love?
Small steps. Every day I wake up and I say to myself, I love you. It was very difficult in the beginning, to look at myself in the mirror and to say, I love you in the mirror. And if you can't say it in the mirror, write it down on a piece of paper. I love you.
Mm,
Those 3 words.
hmm
And then read them over and over again. By acknowledging that you love yourself, that's the first step. Also, do something nice for yourself. You know, whether it be read a book or to go out for a walk. Give yourself time for what you enjoy. A lot of people think that they can't have what they want because of whatever situation or circumstance they're going through. Once again, with chronic illness, we're stuck in the house because we're going through whatever particular thing. Turn on Netflix and watch a show that'll make you laugh, or read a book, or write in your journal how you're feeling. Show yourself that love and acknowledgement that's hemmed up inside, but then give it away out.
mm. That's, yeah, that's really incredible. I think that's so important because it also keeps you in the moment. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not so focused on the negative or the problems. And I
Right.
think that's what gratitude is so great with, is that it rewires your brain so that you can focus on what's going well in your life. So even if whether you have chronic illness or multiple chronic illnesses, or you're going through a divorce, or you're dealing with grief, or any number of life challenges, it's in your power to choose how that's going to affect you. And do you focus on that, or do you find other things to focus on? And when you shift your focus to the good, then you see more and more good. It's just that simple rewiring of your brain. And I love that you said start out small. Just say I love you in the mirror. I think that's such a beautiful and powerful and incredibly transformative suggestion for people doing that mirror work, because that's really where it starts. That's the foundation for creating the life you want, given that you have limitations and you can only work with what you have, but you can still create an amazing life, which is what you've done, and what I think is your message to everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a gift. So thank you, Danny. Thank you for being such an inspiration for so many people. Thank you for your work, your book, for being here today. I'm just so grateful for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we have to end soon, but I just want to take a minute to do our grateful moment. So Emily, our producer, is going to spin the wheel of gratitude for us. So Emily, please let us know what it lands on.
Today the wheel landed on nature.
Nature. What a beautiful way to get your mind off things. Go outside, clear your head, look at the trees, look at the river, the water, wherever you are, the mountains. Breathe that fresh air. Be grateful for fresh air. Be grateful for sunshine, and whatever nature gives you, whatever you get from nature, just allow yourself to feel gratitude for that, and know that nature is always there to refresh and rejuvenate, and even in the winter. So we're going to end now. So Danny, tell us, how can people find you? I know you're on Instagram. I know you have a website.
Yeah.
How can they get in touch with you and find your information?
Sure. So they can go to resiliencedaily.net is my website. They can find, I also have my book available on that website as well. I do have a line of apparel that's on that website too that they can purchase. I'm wearing one of the shirts that I sell on the website. They can find the book also on Amazon. So the book is available in multiple areas. There is a journal also on that website. My Instagram handle has changed. I can tell you in a second.
Well, I'm going to put all of that in the show notes.
Okay. But
so
it
your
has changed.
website, your book.
Yeah, Resiliently Thriving is my Instagram handle. So
Okay.
those would be the two places that they can find me.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today and for sharing your incredible wisdom. And I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't checked out episode 1 of the show, please check it out. It's during that episode, I walk you through a very simple gratitude practice called Vitamin G. You can also visit my website, gratitudetobliss.com. You can download a free guided meditation called Nourishing Gratitude, which is something that's really helpful to do this time of year with the holidays happening, to really get into that feeling of gratitude. This is the Gratitude to Bliss show, the place to be to get your vitamin G. I'm Lorraine Miller, your host. And remember, I love you. Take your vitamin G. Thank you for tuning in to the Gratitude to Bliss show, the place to be to get your vitamin G. I'm Lorraine Miller, your host, and I want to remind you to check out episode 1 and create your own powerful vitamin G practice and let gratitude work magic in your life. To help you add that special sauce, download your free guided meditation, Nourishing Gratitude, at gratitudetobliss.com. Do you have a gratitude story to tell? Has gratitude helped you overcome a challenge in your life? Or are you going through a rough time and need some extra support? Go to gratitudetobliss.com/contact and send us your story to be a featured guest on the show so you can inspire others with your story or get inspired to break through whatever you are struggling with. Remember, I love you. Take your vitamin G. One thing I know for sure is that life is a blessing. We aren't meant to feel stressed, overwhelmed, and anxious on a daily basis. We are meant to feel calm, healthy, and strong mentally, physically, and emotionally. If you've been struggling with stress, if you want to boost your mood, increase your energy, balance hormones, and create greater mental clarity and focus, if you want to lose excess weight and keep it off, I invite you to check out Calm, Healthy, and Fit, my 3-month group coaching program that is all about you and making yourself a priority. We are going to set achievable goals, create healthy habits around food and lifestyle, and support each other in a group setting. Join us and visit gratitudetobliss.com/group coaching to learn more.